Hello, everyone. Stephanie Zima here, your Walk It Free mentor. Talking to you tonight about wait a minute, I'm starting Instagram. Okay, talking to you tonight about some of biggest mindset issues. Like I've been now talking to people online, and if you have mindset obstacles, I would love for you to comment here because I address them one by one. I address them with this jar in my shorts, like I pull one, and then here on my live videos, I'm talking to you and in details about some of the thoughts that are keeping you stuck. And one of the thoughts that somebody had commented was other people's opinions. And I think this is something that we can really relate with, right? Other people's opinions are holding us back quite a bit. It has something to do with fear. It has something to do with just being worried that and anxious that we are going to be cast out of their group, maybe that we're being rejected, that we're being ridiculed, that we are being made fun of, and it can really mess with every single thing that we are wanting to do. So when you say, for example, you are part of a network marketing company or you are an MLM, you immediately worry what they're going to say. Drop in the comments real quick what you think they're going to say, because we all know those opinions of the people. And if we don't have a really strong belief about it, what's going to happen is that we let that doubt, those opinions, corrode our actions. And today I want to give you an opportunity to learn how to get over this hump, how to get over this obstacle, because this is something that is so near and dear to my heart. For those that are new to me, I started this Walk It Free movement with the Freedom Mentorship because I want women to be able to rebuild their life, right? My slogan is taking steps towards a life we won't regret. So many of us are either midlife or in our 30s or past our 50s, and we start realizing, like, wait a minute, this life is not necessarily what we want. Wait a minute, we've lost control, right? How many of you have started to be in this business because you want some extra money, because you realize that maybe your savings are not up to par? Maybe you have realized that you're dependent on your husband and you don't really like that feeling. Maybe you have realized that being a stay-at-home mom has lost some skills in the real life working environment. This is something that happened to me, right? I mean, I ended up being a stay-at-home mom, and I love being a stay-at-home mom. However, I was grateful to my business because I continued educating. I continued to be talking to adults. I continued to learn and strive and use my brain, because when you don't use your brain, when you are for anything other than being with children, what happens is you lose a lot of confidence, you lose a lot of ability to talk to other grown-ups, other adults, and there's a disconnect. What happens is, like, the disconnect that you somehow feel like you are not capable anymore to do anything outside the home. And that can be so anxiety provoking that I feel like it's really important to have a network marketing company or like business or another online business of some sort that still gives you power to stay contributing. Okay. All right. And the opinion of other people can really mess with that rebuilding part. And, Walk It Free, I got sidetracked. Walk It Free is really to help women to get back into life, taking those steps towards a life we won't regret, figuring out what that looks like for you, figuring out how we can make this business part of it. How can we earn the money? Because we know without money, there's no funny, right? I always say there's no money without, no funny without money. Anyway, people's opinions, that's what we're talking about today. So, the way how it's affecting, it really drains your income. Okay. And here's how. Number one, it dims your voice online. When other people are going to talk to you, it dims your voice because you're getting scared of judgment, and you don't post anything. You have fewer leads because you're not posting anything, you're not reaching out to people. And when you have fewer leads, you actually do not have a business, you do not have an income. You need to have constant flow of leads coming in. And what is a lead? People that you can talk to. Okay, that's what it is. When you have people that you're talking to, this is where money can come in. Number two is, when you are worried about what other people are going to think, is you underprice yourself. Keeping people comfortable means you keep your prices low so no one can say it's too much. Okay. Hey, Indrani, nice to see you. Keeping people, see, my mentorship is only $27 unless you want to do the one-on-one, but it's because I know that beginner network marketers are not necessarily making enough money to invest into mentorship. That happened to me. It was so incredibly hard in the very beginning to know all these moving pieces of lead generation and how to duplicate and how to post and how to have a brand. And now everything is going on with AI. And first everybody got so excited and said, oh, AI is the best thing next to sliced cheese. And see, now things are turning again, where everybody is saying like, oh, I can see it's AI. And of course that's an opinion, right? Everybody is saying, so now they're putting in, when you finally embrace AI and you're starting to use ChatGPT for your posts, now online is shifting and basically ridiculing and shaming you for using it. And it feels like always like you're one step behind, right? You're trying it, but you're not authentic enough, all the stuff. This is the people's opinion. And underpricing yourself, yes, but my price, the $27, is because I want to help you. I remember how horrible it felt that there were so many different pieces and I just couldn't make sense of it. I could not figure it out. I couldn't work with it. I couldn't do all these things. Time was an issue. Of course, I have 3 kids. I'm a single, right? I mean, I'm married, single at this time still, but I have a job. Like, the things are like, I have to be able to do the things like this. And that takes skill. That takes skill to know how to lead generate, how to have the conversations, how to use your content, and so on and so forth. But sometimes when you're afraid to sell or ask somebody to look at the products that you're selling, that's when you could possibly underprice yourself, or you make yourself less valuable. Okay. Number 3 would be, you say yes when you should say no, right? Sometimes you say yes to things even though it's not the right thing to do right now. And that's really, boundaries are very important, not just in business with your customers, but also in your private life. You have to learn how to be confident enough to have good boundaries. Because if you say no, or if you say too many times yes, right, all the recovering people pleasers, then you are actually saying no to the things that you should be doing that move your business forward. And that is the problem. So number 4 would be, you slow your momentum. Okay, when you value other people's opinions over your own voice, over hearing what your authenticity says, how you feel you should be selling it, what you do is you actually are lacking behind always one step, because you're always questioning subconsciously in your mind through your actions. Should I say it? Should I not say it? Should I do it? Should I not do it? Should I reach out this way or should I reach out that way? You slow your momentum down. If you can develop ability to literally know your voice, your authenticity, your principles, and we're going to get to this in a minute, because that's how you are able to do it, right? If you are convicted with your principles, you know exactly how and what your purpose is going to be, that's when you can start speeding up instead of slowing down without without hustling more. See, we don't want to speed up and hustle more. We don't have time to hustle more, right? I mean, a lot of us are doing this network marketing gig on a side hustle thing. So that means you have a life. You have a husband, maybe you have a job, you have a home, you have to take care of that. You have to take care of cleaning, cooking, all these things. So there's not a ton of time to be hustling and speeding up. And I think this is also an issue why a lot of people are not taking the action, because they are thinking subconsciously again that when you work more, you hustle more, you have more work to be done. And that is also not the truth, but that's a mindset obstacle people are dealing with. And then number 5, the reason why we let opinions bother us is because we just then, if we let opinions rule our thoughts, we just never really fully commit. We never fully say, we are doing this, right? And what I want to do today is I want to help you to find the antidote to this. I want you to know that there's a trick that you can use that will rule all of these fears out, okay? And that is developing your principles. Have you ever heard about your principles? Have you ever thought about what your principles actually are? I haven't heard about it until I started diving into these thought coaching, right? Figuring out exactly like, how am I able to do this? How am I becoming aware, first of all, as to what I'm even thinking, what is holding me back, what are the feelings that we've got going on, but then also like, what am I going to do with that, right? Once I know that, how am I going to work with this so that it can become productive? Because what we don't want is we don't want to become aware of it and then get stuck in there, right? That's what they do in therapy. In coaching, you are becoming aware of it so you can put a pin in it and work with that. So using that to turn into purpose and then use it to go forward, right? That's the key. That's the difference between people that are in therapy and people that are in coaching. The people in therapy, they are in their feelings all the time. And we are here in coaching, we are in our feelings so we can become aware of them, but then we're using them and we work with them to accelerate us towards the winning and towards the progress. Okay, so how do we figure out and how do we develop the principles, right, of our life? How are we going to live our life? First is awareness. We have to notice what's really currently running our life, okay? And then principles. So for example, don't upset anyone. Could be one thought that you are saying. That is a principle. If you are worried about other people's opinions all the time, it could be because your current principle that your system is working on would be, don't upset anyone, play it safe, work hard, even if it destroys you, don't ask for too much. You can swap the word principle also with what's your inner blueprint. Okay, if that makes more sense and you can get a visual about it. Like if you have a blueprint of something, it tells you the way to go. It tells you the way how to operate. And principles is your guideline, is your inner compass that says, okay, we are going this way. Don't upset anyone, play it safe, work hard, even if it destroys you, or don't ask too much. Those are thoughts, blueprint thoughts, principle thoughts that are subconsciously inside of your brain because maybe that was your parents have said that to you. Maybe they have lived their life this way and you have adapted it. These principles are very often subconscious, and that is why you can't change them until you actually start digging and you start growing with it and figuring out, like, what am I really thinking here? Okay. Then what we need to do after we become aware, step number 2 would be we need to disrupt those. Okay, like that. We got to disrupt those. We got to call them out and we need to say, these thoughts that we had no longer align with what we want to do right now. They do no longer align. Like when you look at a blueprint, right, or an architectural plan, for example, and that the principles originally said, I'm building a ranch house, you can say, well, no longer, because my family just grew. I have lots of people in there. I need a basement and I need a second story. It'll no longer be a ranch house. So we're going to build something else. Okay. And when you do that, That's when you decide to say, this served me then, but it harms me now, right? This belief kept me small. This rule wasn't mine to begin with. Like, if you have been told to be quiet all the time because you should play it small, right? You shouldn't be bragging to anybody, for example. You shouldn't be tooting your own horn, or maybe you become too big for your bridges, or whatever the saying had been that you've been told. That is something that was maybe their opinion. Maybe you need to become even bigger for those bridges, right? To grow into them. There's a lot of things that you can do that maybe aligned back then. Maybe those thoughts and principles kept you safe back then, but now they just don't anymore. And once you recognize that, you disrupt them by figuring this out, and then you do number three. You make a decision. You're choosing who you want to be. Now, remember, everybody throws the word authenticity around, and everybody's saying, oh, just become authentic. And I bet you anything, so many of you have zero idea what that means and how to become actually authentic. We say these things, we think maybe we are authentic, but not many have actually done the work to become and watch in every area of their life, whether or not it's their home life, whether or not it's their work life, whether or not it's their business, their parenting, their relationships with their spouse. Like, all these areas of life, those are really important to shine the light on and say, okay, what principles am I living this with? Do I believe in all these things that I'm doing? Because so many of us are on autopilot. And, I feel like almost like the midlife crisis, that's probably where a lot of people become aware that they had been on autopilot, and then they realize and recognize that they're not feeling good with the life that they have built. And some of us decide, oh, wait a minute, let's examine this for a second and figure out what we can do and how we can change something. And then you have to rebuild your life. And some of us just continue to be unhappy for the rest of their life. And they're the ones that die with a lot of regrets. Walking it free is really this, right? Becoming aware, healing what's broken, aligning with what we need to do, figuring out, connecting with our authenticity, choosing who we want to be. Who do you want to be at home? Who do you want to be at your job? Who do you want to be as a parent? Who do you want to be in your business? What kind of leader do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be as an entrepreneur? How do you want to show up? Who are you becoming? What standards do you follow? Right? How do you want to live your life? Do you want to live in attitude of excellence, or do you want to be, or maybe you're okay with mediocre? Maybe you're okay with not even looking at it, right? Whatever you choose, it's an active choice. It's not a passive choice anymore. Many of us are passively just going through the mundane day-to-days. When you want to disrupt this, you need to make a choice. You need to make it, conscious, right? What do I no longer tolerate? What is bothering so much? What is taking my energy? What do I want to do? And then saying, okay, wait a minute. I'm not tolerating this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And then what matters more than approval, right? Become aware. What would matter more than approval? See, for me, I'm a recovering people pleaser. I have had so many, I just talked to my boss about it. I used to run so hard. I burned to the point of burnout that I was trying to get that approval. I was trying to get that approval. And it was actually because of a lack of self-confidence. I was afraid that if I wouldn't please him so much, I was afraid that I was going to not be there anymore, and I would surely die, because I didn't think that I didn't think I was capable. I didn't think I could do anything, and that was a lack of self-confidence at that time. So that's why I ended up over pleasing, overworking, doing all the things way beyond my physical capabilities, actually. I'm surprised I didn't end up with burnout back then. But see, I had to heal that self-confidence. I had to heal and go back to learning how to be more confident. And that, being able to stand on my own 2 feet without anxiety, even though it's very scary, being alone on your own 2 feet, that was needed for me to be able to survive, really, to survive. And that is when I answered that question, what matters more than the approval? My life, me, right? So you learn how to be self-absorbed through necessity. Okay, it's self-love that you are coming up with. And it's because you just find your self-worth. Right? You raise your deserve level, you raise your self-worth. Okay, so those are the principles. And once you have them in your brain, when you ask yourself in every area of your life, what am I living by? What am I thinking? How am I working about this? Then you can change them. You can say, I don't abandon myself to keep the peace. Okay, I don't abandon myself anymore to keep the peace. I act when I'm uncomfortable. That's an important one when you run a business, right? You act when you're uncomfortable because we're uncomfortable a lot of times. I protect my energy. That was a huge one for me. Protecting my energy. I'm an introvert. I am an empath. I feel other people's emotions way too often. And I had to learn to recognize that some people's emotions are not good for me. And I had to learn and recognize to say, no, thank you. And I have to say, yes, please. And I also had to learn how to accept help and how to be vulnerable. I always thought I was vulnerable because I was empathetic, but that was not the case. Vulnerable is when you are actually needing someone else's help and you are like putting yourself into their mercy. And it does not feel good to me at all, right? It's very scary, but you can do that by healing those thoughts, and you can do that by being really intentional with who are you letting into your circle and who are you not. And all of that is growth, and this is important when you do your business, for example, and you are aware, like, what do you need and what you don't need. When you have conversations with people, you see red flags, green flags, or green flags, red flags, right? All the time. And if you are very in tuned with where you want to take this, when you know what your principles should be for your business, how you want to show up, how your principles should be, how your customers and contacts should be treating you, when you become in tuned and aligned and everything matches up, that's when you start feeling the ease, right? The peace, the joy, it just flows. You get into flow state. Okay. Maybe your new principles could be, I just keep promises to myself. Okay. And then the last step in making all this happen is the repetition, turning the principle into the normal, putting in the reps. That is a level up, right? You heal the thoughts, you heal the pain when it comes, you connect and align with what you need to do, and then you got to put in the reps. Yeah, put in the reps, because you walk this walk once and it feels really uncomfortable. It feels really rocky. You're putting some boundaries up and it's not really quite where you want it to go. So that's a little bit, iffy. But then at the same time, what are you going to do after that? What are you going to do after that? You have to do it over and over and over again so that you are going to be able to make it the norm. Okay, that's what it is. You got to make it the norm. Okay, principles for women rebuilding is you need to have self-respect principles. And I'm going to give you some, okay? Self-respect principles could be, for example, because if you're anything like me, you're like, what does it really mean? Like, I don't understand what are principles. What does it really mean? And so on and so forth. So self-respect principles could be, I no longer abandon myself to keep the peace, okay? Self respect principles could also be, I honor my needs before people's opinions. I speak to myself the way I speak to someone I love. speak to myself like somebody I love. If you are anything like me, you know that you're really mean to yourself sometimes. Like if you observe the way how you're acting, yeah, you're really mean to yourself probably sometimes. Would you talk like that to somebody else? Think about this, right? Those are all questions to become curious about and to reflect on maybe and to maybe journal a little bit. I speak to myself the way I speak to someone I love. I don't negotiate my worth with anyone, even the people I love. Okay, and that's the truth. I have identified, and I don't negotiate this anymore. I have my principles. I believe in what I believe, and yes, I'm listening to other people's opinions. They can all give me their opinions, and the way how I teach even my kids is like listen to everyone's point of view. It's really important to not just be egotistical and just think yours, because we can learn from other people as well. But does not mean when I listen to everybody's opinions, it does not mean that I am swaying from my principles. I am going to consider them. And if I take something that I find useful, I add on, or, I change maybe, but I do that evaluation process first. Another one would be I negotiate my word. Here, I keep the promises I make to myself. So when you do this, okay, I said that to myself a lot of times. I keep the promises I make to myself, and then I fail. And then I don't do it because I forgot. It's always the thing with my watch, for example, right? I keep forgetting to plug my watch in. So when I work out, I can't track it. So I tell myself all the time, I promise myself tonight that I'm going to put it on the charger, and then I forget. If that happens to you, just have grace. This leveling up process, putting in the reps, this working with this, that takes time. And that is why, by the way, right now, my year-long coaching mentorship is on sale for Black Friday. If you want to hop in there, this is the reason why, because it's hard to put all of these actions into place, right? Becoming aware of it is one thing, but actually doing it week to week to week to week is hard, because you will want to continue to stay safe. Your brain is continuously wanting to stay safe. You are still going to continue with the old patterns, okay? And um, that is where you need somebody that can say, hey, wait a minute, didn't we decide last week that we're going to do this? Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, that's where a coach can actually hold you accountable. Another few principles real quick for money and success could be, I refuse to stay broke to stay liked. I'm going to reach out anyway. I don't want to be broke. You don't pay my bills. Other people's opinions are not paying my bills. I don't shrink my value to fit someone else's expectations anymore. See, take the steps towards a life you won't regret. This is so important. And you probably will know what that means when you've seen somebody die with regrets. It's the worst thing in the whole wild world. If you see somebody with the terminal illness that then ends up dying, and they had so much life to live, they had so much things that they wanted to do, but they could not do those things anymore, right? When you start realizing that, that's when you want to remember to walk it free. That's when you start remembering, like, wait a minute, I got to live today. I got to live today according to my principles, according to what makes me peaceful, what brings me happiness, what brings me satisfaction, right? And I need to be able to do the things that serve me today and in the future. And that is what's really important. And when you get aligned with who you are inside, with your principles, and your goals, that's when you become unstoppable. And I'll tell you one thing, no network marketing company teaches you that level of training. They may teach you lead generation, they may teach you duplication, they may teach you how to track your leads and how to do all the things, the systems, but they don't teach you how to reorganize your life, how to heal from your old thought errors or mindset issues. They don't teach you mindset mastery, emotional resilience, or perseverance. They don't teach you these skills. And this is what the Freedom Mentorship will teach you. So if you're dealing with any of these things, mindsets, issues that are holding you back, you're not feeling happy in your life, you're not feeling that you can handle life and work, and you don't have a balance, if you feel constantly pulled and stressed and anxious about your finances, and you just hope to make money but you're not, I tell you, the $27 for the freedom mentorship is definitely worth it. And I also believe that it's super worth it to do the yearly mentorship, because again, you are going in a whole entire year. You have to learn the things, you have to reflect on the things, and then you actually have to do the things in order to have the success and make it lasting. And that, my friends, will take some time. I'm going to be very open and honest. Nobody can give you a quick fix on that. It will take some time. You will start walking, you will start stumbling, you will start feeling insecure, and it'll always be good to have a coach next to you that says, you're doing fine, you're doing great, keep on coming. All right, with that, over and out. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want a free consultation one-on-one, let me know. Send me a DM, ask me your questions. We can hop on a call, we can talk about the mentorship program if you want to, and if not, I hope this brought you value. If you watched it later on the replay, let me know, and I'll see you all tomorrow.